Hello, welcome back to Beyond the Box. We are here. We are here. Don't exactly know where here is, but we are here.
We're here.
I know. I'm so tired. I don't know what's going on. I'm just
Did you not
tired.
get enough sleep today?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
It's always so much easier when I can sleep all the way through. It's when I sleep a little here or a little there, that's when it becomes a problem. Hi, Brent. Where you been?
yeah, Brett. Long time no see, buddy.
So, but yeah, if I can sleep straight through, I feel a little bit better. But when it's cut up, sleep a little, wake up, sleep a little more, wake up, it just exhausts me. I think I'm just getting old.
Nah, you're not getting old. Getting wiser.
So, how was your day?
It was a busy day, but like I said, I was telling you earlier, it's 67 degrees here, and it was chilly when I rode my horse, and it was actually very nice. I'm so happy. So
Well, that's good.
I hate the
Uh,
100-degree yucky heat that just melts you.
right. So,
So
tonight we're going to talk a little bit about what? Some werewolves and what else?
werewolves. Yeah, we're gonna talk about those scary creatures out there.
Oh, Brent, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I hope everything's okay.
What happened?
He just said he's had a lot going on lately.
Oh, had a lot going on. Yeah.
Yeah, we know how
Oh,
that is.
yeah. Life is like that, isn't it? It's like a lot. Well, I hope
so,
you got it caught up on then everything, Brent.
so, what did you want to start the conversation with? Do you want to talk about, like, I don't
Go
know?
ahead and show that first little TikTok so we can get started, and then I'll read something out of the Gnostic uh, stuff, and then we'll show that little short one. It kind of
Yeah.
talks about vampires and werewolves.
Okay.
Yeah.
This one.
Okay.
Oh, come on, get up there. There you go.
Can you
And
get
said
it
he
any
knows for
bigger?
a fact
Oh,
there's
wait
a
a
whole
minute.
island of
I was going to try to make it bigger, but apparently on these you cannot.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Well,
vampires in the middle of the ocean.
There's a vampire.
wait a minute. Wait a minute. Did he say there's vampires in the middle of the ocean? Let me start that
yeah,
over again.
yeah.
Okay.
A
Start it
whole
over.
island of vampires in the middle of the ocean.
There's a vampire sanctuary located on an island in the middle of the ocean.
This man says
These
he is a
vampires are
vampire.
older than the so-called elders who live amongst humans. These vampires have been around for so long that they've developed abilities that your everyday vampires
Possibly
do not have.
thousands of years.
For instance, these vampires have the ability to fly. Now, they don't fly the way a bird flies. They don't have wings. They don't fly the way a plane flies. There's no jetpack on their back. These vampires have been around for so long that they've developed the ability to levitate their own body by using their mind. They've also developed elongated fangs. These fangs are so long that they are unable to retract their fangs anymore. There's a few reasons why these vampires have decided to live on this sanctuary. One being that they are quite literally tired of the human race. They were walking around in Rome before Caesar was there.
Wait. So that's all we have to do when we're tired of the human race. We just go find an island and live on it. Like that sounds good. Hello,
Plenty of
Juan.
them islands
Hello,
around. Yeah.
Monisha. I know, right?
They're absolutely tired of humans. They were tired of living in a world where humans were more of a blight than a gift to the planet. Another reason why they might live in this sanctuary is because with their elongated fangs, it became harder to hide the existence of vampires. While younger vampires can walk amongst the humans, these elders could not. This sanctuary is surrounded by tall stone mountains and very large, ancient trees. These trees have vines on them as small as a garden snake and as large as the torso of an elephant. These vines are riddled with thorns as small as ants and as big as a grizzly bear. Inside of these vines is a red substance. Now, this red substance can be consumed by vampires, but it's not a replacement for blood. The real purpose for this red substance within the vines is that when it's burned, it releases a gas. This gas then rises into the air and creates a mist. This mist covers the island, making it undetectable by radars or any other human instruments. You won't know about this island until it's too late. For centuries,
Apparently some
ships
humans have
and
been
boats,
there.
and more recently planes,
Amelia
go
Earhart.
missing when they travel too close to the sanctuary. Not only does this mist protect the island from radars, but it also prevents radio waves from traveling in or
Very
out.
weird.
This is why those ships, boats, and planes could never send a distress call when they were in trouble.
2 weeks before my son died.
I'm going to say this.
What?
So I'm going to say this. If they can create a mist that hides them from radar and pulsating waves, different stuff like that, well, I think that maybe, this won't stop. I think that maybe they were onto something. I mean,
Kind of like a Tesla trying to, with the copper coils, trying to hide the ships and stuff. Remember? That was the cloaking technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. All right, then. All right, take it away, Suzy.
Well, actually, let's do one more video before I read this Gnostic thing, okay? So that we'll do that where the rabbi is going to kind of break down the werewolf definition thing here.
Okay.
Our trusty rabbis here, they know what they're talking about because they know how to read those words.
Do they, though? Do they?
They do. They do. They got it.
All right.
Okay.
And I don't see a thing on here where I can make that any bigger either.
Okay.
Lovely. Okay.
And Rabbeinu Ephraim says, the people who transform into wolves, Nivru Misheshet Imei Bereshit. People were created from the beginning of creation. Rabbeinu Ephraim. Rabbeinu Ephraim. Rabbeinu Ephraim, by the way, is quoted by the Chidah in Yaris Dvash. Chidah's, this is not a joke. This is serious business.
Well, then, that was
Okay.
pretty short. Oh, stop it. It's going to start over again.
So the rabbi was saying werewolves were created from the beginning of time. So according to the Jewish writings, and
Huh. Wonder why.
So, well, let's get into that. Okay. So I'm looking back. If we go back to the creation story by Gnostics, which is kind of predates a lot of the other writings that there's some of this stuff in Enoch, but the Bible was just kind of condensed down to just a few books, and a lot of the books were taken out, or a lot of stuff was kept from us, but it's all kind of all there, in these other books. So, in the beginning, there was a ruler called Yaltabaoth who creates these authorities, and they're called archons, or the authorities. So they weren't human, because they had never seen a human until they seen Sophia. So they didn't know what a human looked like, okay? Because he was kind of a deformed being. He was like part cat face and a serpent body, and so he creates these other archon leaders, right? So they're all kind of like animal type beings. So that's what we're going to get into, is like you go from that to humans, to why humans, some of the humans kind of look like animals sometimes, or are animals and human kind of mixed, So, because it was from before humans were even made.
Right.
So, according to Gnosticism, the heretical form of Christianity that emerged in the centuries following the death of Christ, God did not create the world. Instead, the world was created by a misshapen and evil being called the demiurge. The word demiurge means creator. So when they say demiurge, they're saying creator. So, and because he was imperfect and malevolent, so is the world that he created. He also created a group of supernatural. Oh, are you
I'm here.
there?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
here.
there you
It's
are.
okay.
Playing
Go
musical
ahead.
chairs, huh?
I am.
Okay, so is the world that he created. He also created a group of supernatural beings called the archons to help him rule his new world. Together, they created human beings, placing a spark of true divinity embodied by God in each. Oh, you know what? I had the weirdest come together moment the other day. I was thinking about this story in Gnosticism where it says that when Sophia when she gave birth to the material realm, and out of the realm comes this kind of dragon looking thing, called Yaltabaoth, and he has these sparks and everything. And it says in the book, it also says that he stole the light power from Sophia. Now, later on in the story, it goes to talk about how when the humans were created, he was told, she told him to blow life, in this light power into the humans. And when he blew it in, like when he blew life into the humans, that light power left him. And then he felt like he got tricked, and he lost the light. He lost the light power because the humans had it. Because it was always destined by the Most High Source God that the humans would be created, and that humans would have this soul light, this light, that it
Right.
was for us from God. Okay, but he blew it into humans, and so that, and then I got to thinking, no wonder, you always hear these stories. Oh well, the devil wanted me to sell my soul, and he'll give me this, he'll give me that, give me that. And it dawned on me, oh, I get it now, because he's always been after that light power that's in the
Right.
humans. Only the humans have that. So the only way he can get it back is if he makes a deal with the human to sell me your soul, sell me your light power, and I'll give you wealth and money and whatever you want. Just give me that power, that light of God
Right.
that's within you. So that's why that would make sense. Why? Because so many of these people say, "What do I need my soul for? What do I need? What is it to me? I'd rather have the money, right?
Oh wow.
Because that is
Yeah.
right. Because they think that the soul means nothing, right? I don't need it. I'm gonna die. I'm not gonna need it because that's your light. That's who you are. That's your essence, your light power. So
Right.
that's why he would want to buy it from humans, because he doesn't have it. You know.
Mm-mm-mm.
All right. So here's what it says. So these supernatural beings called the archons to help him run his new world. Together they created human beings, placing a spark of true divinity embodied by God in each. They then trapped them in the evil world. In Gnosticism, the teachings of Christ aim to show men how to reach enlightenment, escape the evil material world, and join with the divine. Who are the archons? According to the Gnostic text, the archons were hideous beings with hermaphrodite bodies and the heads of beasts. Okay, this is where we're talking about like wolfmen, or I mean, I'm not saying Bigfoot is like a beast, but he's like a human with a gorilla kind of body, right? Or body look, whatever,
Yeah.
right? And if you go into Egypt, they had Thoth was a bird head, You know, even Horus had a head of a hawk, right? And
Yeah.
um, I think Osiris, I think, was a serpent, or I don't know. That everybody had different, like they weren't human. These gods, these archons, were not like human. They had human type
Right.
bodies, but they had animal heads, right? So they had the heads of beasts. This defiance of the natural order in the composition of their bodies suggests that they were chaotic beings and they could not have been created by God. But their number varies. While most texts refer to 7 archons, the Hebdomad, that's what I say, Hebdomad, as the rulers of reality. In some tradition, there are 5 or 12, or a great archon called Abarax. Okay, that's kind of like abracadabra, Abarax, who rules over 365 archons. I guess there's one demon for every day, right?
Yeah.
The Hebdomad is thought to have created existence, but they are also incompetent, often making mistakes. So while they stand between humanity and salvation, they can overcome. They can be overcome by the truly dedicated. Okay, the Gnostics often identified the archons as pagan god worshipped in other religions to make sense of their religion within the predominatory pagan world. At the time, each of the 7 archons of the Hebdomad was also associated with one of the 7 planets known at that time linked to astrology. They also correspond to the days of the week that govern life in the material world. While there is no consistent list of archons, below are profiles of some of the archons that are consistently identified. Yaltabaoth, and I don't know if you can see this picture, but
Oh boy.
that's sort of the picture of what he looks like. Kind of a serpent
Hang
with
on.
a,
Let me see if I can.
there it is. Yeah, kind of a serpent with a serpent body with a lion kind of face. Sort of a dragon type being. Okay? Are you there still?
Yep.
Okay, there you are. So
Huh.
Yaltabaoth is also known as, huh? Okay.
Nothing. Go ahead.
So Yaltabaoth is also known as Sackloss or Fool, or Samuel the blind, like the blind god Samuel, was the archon of formation and was associated with the planet Saturn. He was considered the chief of the other archons and had the face of a lion and the body of a serpent. Yaltabaoth may be the demiurge himself who created the other archons. He is known for his arrogance and said, I am God, and there is no other God beside me. This archon is principally responsible for keeping souls trapped in the material world. Yaltabaoth is also described as a kind of ruler of hell and as residing in chaos with 49 demons, where he tortures wicked souls in boiling rivers of pitch. He was also responsible for denying man knowledge by trying to prevent him from eating the fruit of knowledge. Saturn, as the furthest planet known in ancient times, is associated with time, limitations, and death. So now the first one is called Yo or Yah, Yao, is described as one of the sons of Yaltabaoth and is associated with the planet Jupiter. He appears as a serpent with 7 heads and wings and with a Dalek face. Yah is often associated with rulership, authority, and law, and is seen as a figure of judgment rather than being a positive thing. He enforces the corrupt laws and keeps mankind imprisoned. Now, they were saying that is Yahweh, okay, the Archon Yahweh, okay? He's the first ruler. That's probably why you hear his name so much, right? The second one is
Right.
Sabaoth, another son of Yaltabaoth, is associated with the planet Mars. His name appears in Old Testament and referred to the divine army is often interpreted as the forces of chaos. Fitly for a god of war, Sabaoth. Now this is interesting. The second archon that he created, Sabaoth, actually turns against him and turns to Sophia and Christ. Okay, so it says this is the god of war, Sabaoth, and Sabaoth is mentioned multiple times. Jehovah Sabaoth is mentioned multiple times in the Bible, and then he's called Sabaoth, Sabaoth the son of Yaltabaoth. Sabaoth is mentioned twice in the New Testament, in the book of Romans and one of the other books, as being a good God that helps people, right? But he was one of the archons in the originally to help him rule, but he rebelled against his father. It says. So it says Sabaoth dethroned his father with the help of Sophia, which is known as wisdom or Holy Spirit, who created the demiurge. He is sometimes interpreted as a good archon who takes on the form of the God of Israel, but he is also a negative figure responsible for strife, chaos, and war within the world. Right, because he was known in the Old Testament as the Lord of Hosts, or so that's
Right.
referencing him. He is the one who threw Yaltabaoth into Tartarus. So he threw his father into hell, basically, making him the ruler of hell.
Well then.
It said also, yeah, right. That's a good place to throw your bad daddy away. Making him the
Yeah.
ruler of hell. His envy of his son took on its own form. He became death. Other evils emerged from death, including envy, wrath, weeping, roaring, loud shouting, sobbing, grief. In many ways, Sabaoth parallels the Greek god Zeus. There's like a little parallels between Zeus. So, and then they have Adonais. Adonais is the third archon, who is associated with the sun and represents power and authority. These archons often associated with the Greek god Adonis, linking him with beauty, desire, cyclical nature of life and death. He has the face of a monkey. That would be like Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Bigfoot
Face of
could
a
be the
monkey.
third archon. There you go. You know? And then you have Astrophysis, I guess that's how you say it, is associated with Venus and is considered the star bringer, which is logical for an association with the morning star. He had the face of a hyena, and he is associated with base knowledge of the lowest form of wisdom, including desire, sensuality, attraction. He keeps souls imprisoned by creating attachments to the pleasures of the material world.
Right.
Okay, the next archon is Elias, I guess they say. It's Elaios. Elias is associated with the planet Mercury, which links him with the communication, intelligent, and trickery. Communication. Hey, I wonder if that's Elon Musk. It's ELA. You know what I mean? Communication, right? Intellect and trickery. He uses deception and illusion to prevent souls from seeing the spiritual truth. Okay.
It kind of sounds
then
like
you have.
Elon. Just saying.
Let's just get a link in the brain. Yeah, let's just connect up to the web, the World Wide Web. So then you have this one. I don't even know how to pronounce this one. Horaios. Horaios.
That's what it sounds like, Horaios.
Is associated with the moon, which is astrological. Oh, and the name Thomas didn't refer to the moon like I thought the other night. It's actually one of the names of the sun is Thomas, like Jeff.
Oh.
Right? Yeah. I guess his name is Jeff Thomas or something like that. Who knows? Okay. So he is connected to the moon, which is my tongue just got twisted. Okay. You know what I mean? Connected with cycles of time, emotions, and subconscious. He underscores the ever-changing nature of the material world, which makes it challenging for souls to become grounded and growth in a progressive way. Horus manipulates the psychology and emotional states of the soul. Okay. So
Wow.
those are the okay. So now for the Gnostics, when someone tried to gain salvation or gnosis, knowledge, that's what it means. Gnosis means knowledge. His or her spirit ascended up through the celestial spheres toward heaven. This happened both in life during esoteric moments and enlightenment and after death. As the spirit ascends through each sphere, the archon that presides over that sphere detains their spirit and asks them a series of questions. If they cannot answer the questions, they have not fully realized gnosis or knowledge. The archon will prevent them from ascending higher. Okay, so it goes on, but basically, this was about the fact that these creatures have beast heads. These beings were created in the beginning with the heads of beasts. So even if you read in Ezekiel, I think it's Ezekiel, the book of Ezekiel, he describes these chariots that come down, and there's these man-like beings with like 4 different beast heads. You
Right.
know, like it talks about them in the Bible. You know that they
Yes.
saw these beings. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you want to pull up the? Do we have another video? Did I send you another video?
No, you didn't. Just
Okay,
those
I'm
two.
going to send it to you. All right. Here comes the next one.
Just
Okay.
those two.
Okay. Here comes the next one. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. It should get there, and then I'll go ahead and send you the next one after that, so you'll have it. Oh, which was really going to be interesting because let's see.
Okay. It's a YouTube.
Okay.
All right. Ready?
Yeah.
Well, you're watching another video.
Trying to send it. Okay. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Okay.
Fenrir, the legendary wolf from Norse mythology, had 2 sons. Fenrir, the giant wolf destined to fight Odin during Ragnarok, wasn't the only terrifying wolf in the mythos. His sons, Skjold and Hati, have their own cosmic role. These wolves don't just roam around, they chase the sun and the moon. Skjold, whose name means mockery, is always hunting the sun, while Hati, hate, chases the moon. Legend says if they ever catch their prey, it'll bring about the end of the world. During Ragnarok, they do succeed. The sun and moon are devoured, plunging the world into darkness and chaos, setting the stage for the final battle. Did you know Fenrir, the legendary wolf from Norse mythology?
Okay. That was quick.
Yeah, that was real fast.
Okay.
So, okay, let me see if that was okay. Okay, let me send you this one.
Well, hang on. You sent me a second one already, right?
Oh. Well, I don't know if it came or not, because that was the second one I sent. So the other one was about Fenrir.
Oh, yeah. You sent. Wait a minute. You sent me 2 of them on Fenrir?
No, one called The Chase, and the other one was Fenrir.
All right. See, you sent me 2, so.
Because let me talk about that one I just sent. That one actually mentions that this wolf from back in this story actually had children. Okay, so
Okay.
these wolves, these are still here. So he had descendants. So that's what I wanted to. That's what that one was to say, that they are, and then they are part of a biblical prophecy about the sun going dark.
Are they like unisex to where it doesn't matter if they're male or female, they can still?
It says that they were like that. Yeah, they're both. Yeah.
Oh. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I've got the other one up.
Okay.
Come on. Okay.
What happened to Loki's children? Loki had 3 children with the witch Angrboda, and all 3 of them were considered to be monstrous by the Aesir gods. And on top of this, the All-Father Odin had a prophecy that the 3 of them would eventually bring about Ragnarok. So he decided to twist the fate by manipulating their lives, with no clue that he was actually helping Ragnarok arrive earlier. He put the children of Loki in just the right places to ensure that Ragnarok would eventually happen. To Hel, he gave sovereignty over the realm known as Helheim, the land of the dead. She fed all the dead in her hall. For Fenrir, he crafted an unbreakable chain and binded him. And for Jormungandr, he made Thor cast him into the ocean that surrounds Midgard, where he would remain until Ragnarok, and then rise up from the depths and spill the water onto the earth, eventually flooding it. Amazed by this story? Then check out our channel, where we have other...
All right.
There you go.
Yeah, that was quick. I like those quick and painless ones.
I'm telling you. All right, I sent you the next one. All right.
Okay.
I think you got it. I think you got it.
I think so. Okay. That would be them. Oops. Come on. There we go.
There you go. Okay.
A werewolf creature as a kid.
And you're fully confident in what you saw.
In my parents' house, there was like a screen door that went out from like a sunroom. I was probably like 6, 7 years old. And I remember looking at it multiple times, and it was like in the window, and it was kind of grinning at me. It had this like red eyes, and I was like, this is not going away. When I looked, I screamed and ran and told my parents. But you know, the reason I remember it though is because I would run from one room to the next for years after that. I wouldn't look out that window. I was listening to Sasquatch shows, and people were saying that they see the dog man, the dog man, the dog man. What the heck is the dog man? I know what the Sasquatch is. What is the dog man? And then I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's what you saw.
I saw the same thing.
What is the dog man?
It's the werewolf.
Does it walk up on 2 legs?
Yeah, it does both.
Is it like the Harry Potter?
Kind of. It's just your classic werewolf. Most of them have the werewolf face.
Upright,
run on 2 legs. Pretty terrifying. I saw like a werewolf.
I like those guys. Ones with the hat and the beard. I do. I like them. They crack me up.
Right. Yeah, that was pretty good. He was like, yep, I saw him, you know. So, you know, it's like you have stories of it, you know, thousands of years ago, and you have current stories of them still seeing these things, you know, these, yeah, crazy, these beast-like beings, right?
Yeah, but nowadays, I don't think they're as much physical because of them being three-dimensional, you know, like now I think they're different than what they were back in the day. Like their souls continued on. Their dark souls continued on. You know what I mean? Like physical bodies may have died, and oh my Lord.
What?
I just happened to look over, and there's a video of a cat apparently who came inside the house and brought his mommy a present. A very big snake, and he put it in her bed while she's sleeping. What?
I've seen that. That is funny.
I would have to skin my cat.
That would be like, cat thought it was bringing up something. I don't know.
They bring presents, but usually they unalive them first.
I know. It's like, look what I got you, you know?
Yeah, this one's alive, Mommy. Let's keep it.
Oh.
No. Okay, so did you want to do anything else?
Yeah, this one here is the one I was telling you. This guy cracked me up. He's a rabbi. He talks about the werewolf, and then we'll talk about this after we listen to this, and we can stop it and then maybe talk, and then, you know, if you find a spot that you want to stop, go ahead and stop and we'll talk, because it's a very, very, this guy, he's got a good sense of humor. I like him. So.
Well, I guess it's good to have a good sense of humor when you're talking about this stuff, but okay.
That's true.
Yeah. All right. Ready?
Yep.
I turned the volume up on this one too.
Okay.
Shalom, shalom, everybody. Ariel Barat Sadok here from the Kosher Torah School, found online at www.koshertorah.com. Wait, did you hear that? There was a bump in the night. I wonder what it was, what it could be. Yes, we are not alone, are we? They are here. They are always here. Well, good that they're here, because they're here to learn with us a lesson in Torah. This is our Kabbalah 101 Plus series, what your other rabbis aren't going to teach you. Lesson number 10. And we're here going to talk about, werewolves, vampires, spirits, ghosts, and demons and things that go bump in the night. And of course, based upon our social conditioning, whenever we speak about vampires, we have to speak with an imitation Eastern European, Romanian, Transylvanian accent, just like a Bela Lugosi.
Oh, jeez.
Now, there is so much to actually discuss with this topic. You're going to see, I'm sorry, I'm going to have a lot of fun with this because there's just so much to have fun with. Whereas at the same time, I'm going to tell you right now from the beginning, according to the Torah, are there such things as real vampires and werewolves and spirits and demons and ghosts? And the answer, emphatically. Notice I said that word emphatically? Okay. Yes. Yes to all the above. Yeah. Our sages, clearly, if you look throughout literature, which I chose, maybe by choice, not to elaborate all of the source material for this class because it's available. You can do Google searches online and find the material. The teachings of Rabbi Ephraim and others about werewolves and some of the legends about vampires and the like. And I do not want to have an academic review of a rabbinic literature on supernatural entities. You know what? If that's really your slant of things, great. You know, go do Google search and find all the different material on it. That's not what we're here to talk about now. I'm already beginning and putting out of the way that these things are real. But with that being said, we need to actually analyze, discuss what is the nature of their reality, and as such, once identified, well, what do we do about it? Now, you will notice, let's start with the topic of vampires, because that seems to be the most popular in modern genre. Just today, the Rabbanit and I went to Barnes & Noble bookstore, and I saw this right at the checkout. This is a Life magazine. It's all on vampires. Why is Life magazine having a big, thick episode, a magazine on vampires? Well, you know what the traditional vampire is. Here's a picture of Bela Lugosi.
Yep.
Here he is, seducing the woman, and he's going to suck her blood. Blah. We used to make fun of that type of caricature, which at one time was taken seriously. How many of you remember the Munsters? There's Grandpa Munster, played by Al Lewis, if you might remember that. This was all taken, and Munsters, aren't they in syndication somewhere on one of the channels? I'm sure they are.
Be like Michael
They had
Aquino,
characters
Eddie
on
Munster.
Sesame Street, vampires. Oh, and who can forget Count Chocula?
Oh, yeah.
The cereal,
Count Chocula,
which we grew up eating. And for a little bit more risque, how many of you remember Elvira?
Elvira.
We better not put her picture up here.
Remember her?
This is a kosher yeshiva. So, this is the fun of it. But then something changed. All of a sudden, TV shows, and more so in the movies, started to portray these entities as actual positive role models.
Yeah.
I forgot the name of the show. Here, this is the picture. I remember this. This is from
Twilight.
the movies. Twilight. Twilight's right there. That's how much I know about these things. And from what I understand, this is a genre of a very popularization of vampire characters. You had, I remember a movie with Tom Cruise playing a vampire and others, and they're all portrayed as these sexually magnificent, powerful, virile males who, in a world today where men have been emasculated by all kinds of things and pushing social media, women who are, isolated and alone, they look up to this, believing that there's some type of power in this. And needless to say, all right, let's call like it is. You have a bunch of horny, boring, ugly old guys out there who probably couldn't find a girlfriend other than trying to masquerade as something stupid like a vampire, who take advantage of young, suggestive types, male and female, in all due respect, who will believe, wow, there's something here, when obviously the only thing that's there is a bunch of baloney. Now, Sierra is apparently drinking the blood of something. She's back there chewing on some kind of a bone. But anyway, getting back to the issue here.
Please tell me that's his dog he's talking about.
Yeah, his dog. He talks about his dog in the background.
Okay, just making sure.
Let's go. Kelly, we talk about our pets.
About vampires. They are real. And no, they're not from Transylvania. And no, they don't speak with an accent like this. And they don't wear tuxedos. And they don't walk around with capes. And they don't talk around with, they don't turn into bats. And they're not these handsome, sexy, virile men. Yes. And all this other kind of nonsense. But yet, if you want to seduce, if you want to manipulate, and obviously you change the appearance into something more compatible, something more acceptable. Now, this type of experience, this type of, should I call it social manipulation, of reinterpreting things, this is an old psychic tool. Before I even begin to address the issues of other entities indigenous to our earth, know and understand that there are higher dimensions than the one we live in now. And I've discussed this in my private classes and the like. Somebody's going to mention shape-shifting. Shape-shifting isn't what you think it is either. But let's get into it. There's a fourth dimension of space. Maybe this is what modern science has discovered and recognizes as what we now call the dark matter world. We know that only 4% of everything in the universe is all that we can see. And there's another 10-20% of this dark matter surrounding us. We have no idea what it is. That's why it's called dark. Not dark isn't bad or evil, but isn't unknown. And then surrounding that, something called dark or unknown energy. So about 96% of this reality that we know is there, we know nothing about. So these are higher dimensions in which everybody wants to make golems. All right, we're going to have to start a golem making company, so rent them out like maids. But anyway, getting serious again. The reality of higher dimensions is not something that anybody can deny for one reason. Every one of us has had experiences with this, most of us unknowingly. Now, I'll give you an example, a very pertinent example of psychic attack, psychic vampirism, and the like.
We know about that, Brenda.
There are many people who have suffered from terrible addictive or abusive addictions in their lives. Alcohol, drugs, and the like. And it's cost them dearly in life. And they have been out of control for maybe decades, years, who knows. Well, in this, you got to question, well, what's going on inside the individual? Is there a psychological component, post-traumatic stress or something similar? It could be all of these things. But there's often a psychic tap, something from the higher dimension that's essentially feeding off the entity, feeding off the human being, preventing the human being from finding healing in what they need. And those who actually make the efforts to find healing, regardless, you don't necessarily need actual exorcisms and the like, but you're going through a process of internal transformation, which is what the exorcism procedure is really all about. So now, I'll give the example. Here's our vampire magazine. Again, I've done this many a time. Let's make believe that our world is a two-dimensional world, just like the top of this magazine. Okay? We can go backwards and forwards and side to side. Those are the only two dimensions that somebody living on the top of this magazine or that two-dimensional being would understand. Now here's my hand. It's in three-dimensional space, but they don't have three-dimensional space down here, so they can't see my hand. They can't look up. There is no up for them. So when my hand comes from up here into their universe, they just see something appearing and disappearing, appearing and disappearing. And I can take my finger, let's say it's a little ant, and I go and squash it or something similar. Well, this fourth dimension, which is surrounding us, Sierra. Oh,
talking to his dog.
Sierra,
He's treat.
Relax. You gotta chill out.
Just like Rebel.
Yes, go talk
Coming
to
to
the
get
vampires outside. Go find the vampires out there and bark at them. There you go.
Go bark at the vampires.
What else do you have dogs if not to chase away the vampires?
Yeah.
I think she chases away the werewolves too. Or she might turn into one. You never know. But anyway, getting serious again. We know from science and we've known from experience throughout all of human history. Somebody says, bring her on camera. Sarah's not a camera doggy. Lavana is. She'll come jumping and knocking over the camera. Okay. This conversation's gone to the dogs. Woo! Let's get back to vampires before we get to the werewolves. Anyway.
Tell you it's funny.
There are higher entities of all different kinds. Now, here is something that actually comes right out of the Bible that we never really pay attention to. According to Kabbalah, the domain directly... Banging things here. Sierra, sit down and behave yourself. Sit down. Sit down. Boy.
Okay, all I can say is we have all lived this.
Yes, we do know what this is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Dogs
God.
are pets. That's what they do. I constantly yell at mine. Stop barking.
They're like, I want some attention now.
Relax. Does she want to go out? She just wants to be obnoxious and bother? All right, go lie down. Stop it. No. Daddy's recording now. People are watching. Do you want to come on camera and say hello to everybody? Come. Say hello. Hello, I'm Sierra.
Oh, God, she's beautiful.
Right.
I want to be a werewolf. You want to be a vampire or you want to be a werewolf? All right, go lie down. Anyway, you always have to have a little, lightened up when you talk about these types of things, simply because our society is very Christian in its foundation. And therefore, the secular culture that developed came out of the Christian culture, in which in the subconscious, deep down, the archetypes of stuff, people really believe in this stuff. It's very deeply ingrained. When, what's his name? Bela Lugosi made the Dracula movie in the 30s, or the original Nosferatu back in the 20s, the silent one. That is when it was believed that vampires were real entities and people were terrified of them. So that's the truth. Later, again, we started to lighten up on these things and it became more benign. Sesame Street characters, the Munsters, Count Dracula cereal, and all of these similar type of things. Well, this lightened up the mentality because from a rationalist point of view, we never took this stuff seriously. But then that old archetype started to come back. When was it? In the 70s, was it? That they came out with the movie The Exorcist? Everybody was terrified by the Linda Blair, I believe was the actress, who portrayed the possessed young girl, and she was turning her head around, spitting out pea soup, and everybody was terrified of this. Except when the movie went to Israel, Israelis as Jews are not of that same mentality and mindset as the Christians of Europe and North America. When The Exorcist came to Israel, everybody, literally across the country, thought it was a comedy, thought it was a joke, and they were rolling in the aisles laughing when Linda Blair's spitting the pea soup and turning her head around and walking on the wall. Everybody thought that was hilarious, because there was nothing inside to attach to that reality. Now, the fourth dimension. What is really there? Like I said before Sierra came and interrupted us, even in the Bible as a reference, in the Kabbalah we speak of the higher dimension above us that's called Yetzirah. The Yetziratic realm is kind of like the realm of, for lack of a better way to describe it, higher dimensional animals. And one group of these higher dimension animals that our sages refer to are called mazikin, which means harmers. We refer to them as angels, but they're not really angels. Archons. They're not like, guys with wings. They're not demons, fallen angels out to turn your soul to hell or anything of the kind. These are natural, indigenous entities from a higher dimension that are, like I said, indigenous to our earth. And let's put it blunt, with something we don't like to hear. As rationalist and defiant and arrogant as we are not the highest on the food chain.
This is true.
There are other entities in these other dimensions that are higher than us. And they exist and live in their dimension and act accordingly. Just like in our reality, we eat meat. We gather together cows and sheep and goat, and we have slaughterhouses and the like. Now, if entities of the psychic nature were to do that to us, we would say that's evil. Have you ever asked a cow what they think of the slaughterhouse, wherein which by the thousands they're being brought in and mercilessly murdered and drained of their blood and their flesh eaten? If that's not a vampire, I don't know what is. So, maybe we are the vampires. And then maybe there are other entities that treat us in exactly the same way we treat cows. That is the reality of things. Okay. These are these entities called mazikin. The mazikin, they're like animals. What do we refer to animals in Hebrew? Hayot. Isn't Hayot also one of the names of the angels? But those are called Hayot HaKodesh. And what do the Hayot HaKodesh, where do we see them? Active and functional in the Merkava, which we know is some kind of a transportation device of some other type of
transportation device.
So,
like a chariot?
Entities of the higher domain, the Mazi.
So, basically, I think what he's talking about in that regard are portals.
Okay.
Yeah. That's how a lot of these things get back and forth, because they're from a different, higher dimension.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I believe that's right.
Keen. They feed off of what we would call psychic energy. Psychic energy is known by a million different names, I don't know, a million, but chi, ki, orgon, prana, all right? We call it nefesh, Kundalini. It's all the same. It's in the blood. It's in sexual activity. It's generated by emotion. And they feed off of this. This is their food.
And that would be the adrenochrome.
Well, he's talking about psychic energy, like psychic.
Yeah, but when he says it's
well, you're talking about fear. Fear would be fear and terror is what gets into the blood, and then when they drink the blood,
excitement. Period.
Yeah,
anything
then it's called that
elevates it. It's that's what causes it.
Terror, makes the adrenaline up.
Right.
Get very, very strong. Yeah, powerful.
Even in some of these movies, these vampire movies, what happens when they grab a hold of somebody and go to bite into their neck? They scream.
Yeah, their adrenaline gets
heightens. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
I think that's why God says, "Fear not," or "Do not." God doesn't give us a spirit of fear, but that of a sound mind. So God teaches us to not be afraid.
Right.
Stand your ground and don't be afraid. Okay.
Now, very curious. You talk about these aliens. The little gray guys, the Nashaya guys. Well, they have so many different encounters with them. And in one of the, in quote, secret encounters recorded by our governments, which, of course, wink, wink, doesn't exist, the entities, when asked, what do you eat? They claimed, well, like you humans, we eat blood. We drink blood, but we don't eat the flesh. So we're like on a higher level. In other words, they just declared themselves to be vampires. And it's known that the little gray aliens, all right, they're not aliens, they're indigenous from here too, Nashaya. They're the Masikin, what do you know? And they're the ones who have the psychic ability. Look at all the UFO literature. They gaze into your eyes and make you have any image in your mind. And that is when, or I should say the cause of what people call shapeshifting. In ancient times, these entities would take the forms of beautiful women, handsome men, and people would interact with them. Shadim, they do the same thing. We already have many stories about them as well. But the Mazikin are well known to corral human beings, isolate them individually, and feed off of them. That is what they do. And for them, it's not done in the name of evil or the devil or anything of the kind. Their attitude towards us, do they still do this today? Oh, absolutely. Like I said, a lot of people who suffer from isolation and addictive behaviors and the like, compulsive behaviors, you see it all the time. It's a sure thing that you got some kind of entity there. And no, it's not a possession in the same way as having a demon in you, but it is what we call a hashpa'ah. Where do they do?
Okay, so I've decided that anything that looks pretty to me, or anybody, I should say, oh my God, look at that hot guy. I'm standing
You're gonna wonder now. What is your intuition?
Shifted into something that appeals to my eyes.
Oh my God, right? Could be something tricky.
Look, from now on, I think I'll just hang out with Billy Bob, missing the two front teeth, and wearing the suspenders. That's it. Man, we can't have anything sacred.
I'm telling you, man.
Mostly in Washington, D.C.
Oh, well.
I don't think there's a person in Washington who's not succumbed to this, especially those of certain political parties. That we're not going to get into that conversation.
He's hitting the nail on the head, but he's taking a different route about it without straight up saying that, our people in Washington, D.C. are a bunch of Satanists. So, yeah.
He's doing it in the rabbi way.
Right
now. But on a serious note, the reality of these Mazikin are real. The sages write about this. Right in the Gemara, Masechet Barachot, Daf Hey, on the name of Ben Ben. He says, thank God we don't have the eyes to see all the mazikin around us. We'd go nuts. They even tell you.
And that.
I have to go out and come back in, Brenda, because my sound got muted.
Uh-oh. Okay. Go out, come back in. And that would be why people that have abilities, myself, Abe, we see the things that are around us because, well, we have that. And like I said before, a lot of people say, oh gosh, you must be so blessed to be able to see the non-living or spirits or entities. I don't look at it like a blessing because it's been around in my life for so long. It's kind of a natural thing. But I look at it more like there are sometimes I see things that I really wish that I didn't,
Right.
But you can't stop that.
Can't unsee what you see. Yeah.
Right. So, sometimes I think to myself, because when I was younger, I used to think this stuff was normal. Everybody could see it. When you grow up like that, that's what you think. It's normal. But then when you find out that it's not normal and not everybody can see these things, then you think to yourself, wow, how did I end up?
How did I get so lucky?
Yeah, right? All right, we'll go on to more.
Different types of formulas of how you can suspect their presence. Now, I'm going to tell you how these mazikin come. They're known by all kinds of different names. But these are the real vampires of whom we speak. And if you want your vampire to look like Bela Lugosi, or I don't know the name of this actor, this guy here, he's the vampire in Twilight, right? I think he's the new Batman coming out in the new series, right?
Oh God, he went from a vampire to Batman.
So sexy, so virile. It's a little gray guy standing like this, okay? He's got eyes and he's psychically projecting images into you. And this is the one, ladies and gentlemen, at night when you're saying, oh, I want to bond with an angel or a demon or a vampire, and you have this image and vision or a dream that this hot, sexy person of choice comes to you and you surrender. That's one of those little gray guys who's astral projecting into you like a straw, sucking out your energy. It is well known and documented that you can sense them, especially if you wake up in the middle of the night, you feel a pressure, like somebody is sitting on your chest. Oh, they always come in the forms of beautiful men and women. Now they come in the form of extraterrestrials. All alien contact, let me rephrase that, all alien abductions is all this kind of material. As we say in the words of wise King Solomon, En kol hadash tachat hashemesh, nothing new under the sun. They've been doing this since ancient days. And they were called in ancient days demonic abductions. And today we call it alien abductions. And Carl Jung was on top of this way back in 1960 when he wrote his book on UFOs and called it The Myth of the Modern.
So, okay. What I'm getting out of this is when this happens, are they putting memory into your brain of certain things that they want you to think happened? Like our 20 backs? Have they really not done that, but yet these aliens have made them see that, or these entities have made them see that, so they have that in their head that that's what they've seen or where they have been?
Good question. What does the audience think?
I mean, because a lot of our 20 and back, they remember going somewhere and being there for years, and then they come back and they've only been gone for like 10 minutes. And they come back the same age as they were when they left. for 20 years. Is that a false memory that's being implanted in their head? And of course, because it is a memory to them, they believe that that is what happened. Huh. I'm going to have to do some more research on this stuff.
Wow.
Wow.
Anybody else in the audience in our chat have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, because that
or they could have. Okay, so what is your theory behind that, Brenda? Why do you think that could be possible?
Because they're missing some time, okay, but not a lot of time.
Right.
Okay, they're missing 10 minutes. But yet to them, in their memory, they've been gone for, 20 years.
Yeah, and they've lived this extensive 10 years of life and did all these activities. So you're thinking that the whole thing was an implant into their brain, all of it?
It could be. I mean, think about it. If these things are sucking your energy and they're having you see them as somebody else, that means that they can mind manipulate.
Could be.
So they can how many people say that they've
Some of it could be true. Some, I could give it that. Some of it could be true. And maybe a lot of it is just manipulation of the mind. Yeah.
I mean, how many people say that they got abducted? They think they were abducted, but they don't remember what happened. Well,
exactly.
That
so
would
many
be
people.
something they would wipe their brain of. What happened? Vampire movies, they do that. They call it, what do they call it? When they impale them to not remember what they have gone through, or not remember that they even know certain people. So, I mean, it could be a real big mind manipulation for the average everyday person. You know what I mean?
Like, I've heard, different testimonies, like say somebody was taken somewhere, they may go sit in a room and watch a movie. And so maybe, they come back and maybe they manipulated. I don't know. There could be, I don't know, Brenda. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
it's possible. Anything is possible because if they're able to,
Yeah, Rebecca says hypnosis
What?
amnesia. Rebecca says hypnosis amnesia.
Okay.
Which is a form of mind manipulation.
Yeah, because if you're being hypnotized, you're being told all this stuff, and it's like a hypnosis memory, like, or they play a movie and say this was your life, and then that's what you remember, and they could have done that,
Yes, they can implant
Mm-hmm.
false memories. They can implant, well, while you were here for 20 years, you were as huge as Hercules and you were beating up the world. I mean, they could implant almost anything into a mind once there's mind manipulation. Which
hypnosis, can do that. Yeah.
Which would explain why some of them say, well, I've been to Mars. Have you really?
Yeah.
Or did they tell you that's where you were? Did you mean? So
good point, Brenda. I mean, very good point. I mean, it's with everything that we're learning about, fracturing the soul and altars and planting demons in people and putting memories and using hypnosis and trigger words and I mean, any of this is very possible.
And it's all a form of mind control, which our government has also had access to this stuff for decades.
Right.
Well, where did they get it? Where did they learn it? Where did they know that they could do this?
From these entities that we're talking about, these archons, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Wow.
What did Rebecca said something here? You see that?
Yeah, I see that. Well, yeah, Rebecca, though, think about this. If you want somebody to believe that they were where they're told that they are they not going to cover their tracks on everything? I mean, I would think yes. So,
Implants,
now,
an
there are
implant, you
some
could
people that
implant
had
memories.
implants.
You could implant memory, like a memory chip into their brain too, that they had,
Yes.
Yep.
Yep. Oh, God, Elon Musk is an alien. Okay, never mind. All right, here we go.
I've heard that somewhere before.
Man, because this is the form and structure that our minds take. And I'll tell you a little secret. The vampires won't come for letting me reveal this to you. Our governments know this very well. They know it all. They've been dealing with this stuff for decades. And this is the reality both of alien abductions and the vampires. They are real. They are mazikin. They are not evil from their point of view, but only from ours. So, what do we do about it? Well, how about this? Practically and realistically speaking, right, the Rabbanit knows that in our backyard, in our house, we have a family of possums. And they play possum. I remember, just to digress, we had the big possum out there. Sierra went running after the possum. The thing fell dead like this. I looked and says, "Oh my God, it's dead." Ellie thought, Reverend Ellie thought it was dead. And I said, "Nah, it's playing possum." I said, "Come back in 10 minutes, it'll be gone." And it was. Now, why do the possums come? Because we have a tradition in our family. We don't like to throw away, old food and stuff. We like to put it out for the animals. Guess what happens when we do that? The animals come. Somebody's saying vampire and aliens are mazikin. I didn't say aliens. Aliens are not mazikin. Aliens, they got real aliens out there from, doing their stuff. But no, I'm talking about those who come and masquerade as aliens. Now, with that being said, at a time when we wanted to make fun of the identity, we neutralized that form. So if you look at Count Chocula cereal, or a Sesame Street character, or all these other, even Elvira, right? This is all meant to make fun. This is not serious. So that neutralizes the imagery. But all of a sudden, the imagery shifted and changed and became something else. And all of a sudden, by the millions, you've had people who want to have some kind of experience of this nature. I have heard so many times people say, I would love to have a succubus, hot, beautiful, sexy person of choice, come to me in the middle of the night and give me all my sexual pleasures.
Who wants that?
Those sexual imageries in your mind are illusions, delusions, while your life force energy is being siphoned out of you. When you're 20, you might not feel it. But by the time you're 40, if you get that far, you're going to find all kinds of psychological and emotional and physical problems. And if you look at the nature of isolation, which is running as the real pandemic today, psychological isolation, this is the result. These entities look at the modern world today.
Rebecca says, a corn dog.
Suck off of it. Look at the Holocaust, the concentration camps. Hitler was an occultic master. He ran the furnaces in the concentration camps 24 hours a day. The Nazi Waffen SS were an occultic secret society. They were offering the souls of their victims, specifically to life force energy, to their entities, for purposes
life force against that light
after 75
force.
years become clear, but will in the future. Topic for another time. But the Mazikin entities are drawn to an equal or a compatible energetic signature. And this is where our society has open the floodgates to them. Energy that is out of balance, they come in through the, in quote, back door. So, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, there you go. Ever since the 60s, where you had the explosion of the counterculture, which broke down all the walls of psychic safety and security under the false narrative of being, we're free to do whatever we want. Okay, yeah, you're free to become a victim and pay the price of it. And people have been doing that for the last so many years. Look what's happened to society. Society's collapsing today because the entire energy that we need as a civilization is being siphoned out of us. It's like the legs are being, sucked out, and you go, and the whole thing falls. Now, I know somebody here in Texas is talking about sleep paralysis and the like. Sleep paralysis is positive and negative. It depends on where you go with it and what you do. I'm not going to get into that right now. But you will recognize a mazik attack, a real psychic vampire attack. Because again, they will portray themselves in your mind in accordance to the image that your mind experiences, which could be positive or negative. If you have sexual fantasies, this is why the rabbis were very against masturbation. Because when you're creating these sexual images in your mind and projecting them outward, then you're bringing back an equal and opposite. In essence, when you're being involved with pornography and masturbation, men and female both do this, well, your thoughts are going out there, and they're saying, attention all, I'm looking for somebody, and somebody, something responds.
Something.
And this leads to a tap. And that has to be broken.
Those are those corn dogs.
We always speak in our Torah tradition about proper, balanced, monogamous, heterosexual relationship as such. That energy needs to be grounded. All right? Pattern of the Sephirot, pattern of the yin-yang, pattern, whatever patterns you want to look at, it's the patterns. So, nothing wrong with a responsible indulgences of the things of this world. However, when that indulgence goes beyond and or I should say takes control of you, well, that is where something comes in. Remember, nothing from outside can come into you unless you open the door for it. This is why, not only in our Torah tradition, but in every other moralistic tradition, we speak about basic foundations of morality, righteousness, self-control. Look, choose your religion, choose the spiritual path. You pretty much see they're all saying the same thing, because this is psychic protection. So here we are again in our two-dimensional world, and this entity is going to come down. Where is it going to go? It's going to go to where it's drawn. So if you're calling for it over here, it's going to say, I can grab it over here. But what about the guy over here? Well, he's not calling for anything, so there's nothing there for me to get. Somebody's asking, when is masturbation okay? Religiously speaking, I don't know any of the spiritual traditions that accept or tolerate it. How's that? I mean, what does that say? But our society today has become so grossly over-sexualized. And there's a price to pay for this. If you look today...
Now, he is absolutely right on that. Okay? And over-culturized is absolutely correct. Look at what's happening right now. We have men running around believing that they can have children, have menstrual cycles. Actual men, okay? Our society right now is so screwed up that it isn't even funny. And where'd it come from? It came from the indoctrinations that came from people saying that it was normal, making it normalized,
Right.
But this stuff is normal. I once had somebody tell me, well, this has been around since you were a kid. You know what? there may have been a certain few things, but not like it is now. So when they opened the door to make this stuff normal, meaning they opened that door and look at what it has done. Look at what it's created. We have one big pile of mess on our hands. So, yeah. Okay, here we go.
At the majority of women in Western civilization, they're really kind of angry at men. I don't blame them. Men act like pigs all the time. All that a man seems to be interested when he approaches a woman is sex. Oh, I'm not like that. You may.
Where are these men? Oh, wait. I haven't run into any of those men, so, you know, that's all right. Not in 11 years, I have not run into any of those men. Let's just say it. All right, here we go.
It may or may not be like that, but everybody is. I mean, I can ask every woman in this audience right now, or those who can listen, have you ever had the attentions that you know the eye or something else from some guy is just not what it's supposed to be? I've even asked women in church, because, you know, in the church, Christian traditions, they hug all the time.
Oh, shit. Oh, no, I did not.
What'd you do?
I hit the wrong button, but hang on. Let's
And I asked, and I said, how many of you women have ever received a hug from a member of the opposite sex, which you know wasn't so kosher? Every one of them said yes. This is a problem, because we have broken down the boundaries of safety. And there's a price to pay. I'm not talking morals and values. I'm not talking about God's judgment. Forget the religious stuff. I'm talking energy. Every culture, every psychic tradition. Go and talk to the Tibetan Buddhists. Talk to the shamans. Talk to the Sufi. Talk to and all of them. They're all going to tell you the same thing. It's a psychic energy. And when you can experience these things personally, you'll see it for yourself. Now, this is the issue. When the psychic vampires out there are interpreted to be positive, we open ourselves up to these things. When our society and civilization presents as positive these or those things which are open to us, we're open to psychic vampires, the real ones, not the phony balonies on the cover of Life magazine. And yeah, they are a danger, and yeah, they are real. Now, if a vampire, number one, they don't have the teeth, okay? When I see these people, I don't have teeth like a vampire, all right? You know what? When we were kids and we were children, yeah, of course we did that. You know, the vampire, Count Chocula. Yeah. But I see these adults. Yes, I want vampire teeth. What the? Are you a moron? Are you an adult moron? What are you talking about? The next thing you're going to say, I want to put hair on my face and look like the werewolf. Well, I said, some of these people are just...
It has been done, because you have people that go and get their canines sharpened.
Yeah.
They can add to them.
Put horns on their head or whatever they want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, so they do it in society, period.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Crazy people. Crazy people.
Idiots. I'm sorry.
There you go, idiots.
The Rub and Eat laughs because of certain things. She's encountered people like this in Europe and here in America, and I mean, she shared with me some of the stories that she's known, and it boggles my mind. So, oh my God, how could people be like such morons to believe this stuff? I am in touch with the spirits of the vampire. I think you need to be in touch more so with a psychiatrist who could possibly make sure that you get the help you need, idiot. But people fall for this stuff, all right? You're not going to meet Elvira. She's not real. She's a character from television, right? Lighten up. Now, I think we've covered the issue of vampires. They are real. They're what we call in Hebrew, in our Kabbalah tradition, mazikin. Every culture knows this. And hold on. Time out. Stop looking to the Romanian Vlad Dracul as, oh yes, he's the real Count Dracula. Oh, shut up. Vlad Dracul was a crazy guy. There's no doubt about that. But if you go to Romania today, he's considered a national hero because he prevented the Turkish Islamic invasion of Southern Europe. Now, was he a crazy guy? You know what? The Roman Emperor Caligula was a crazy guy too. Some of the leaders in ancient cultures, Mongolian, Chinese, even Native American, go look at the Aztecs and the Mayans. A lot of these guys are like really, yeah, they were all crazy guys. So don't go picking on poor old Vlad and thinking, oh yes, he's the real Count Dracula. All right, let's put the myths aside. Okay, you can't drive a stake in the heart, and the cross doesn't scare them off. A little anti-Semitism with that too. If you looked at the original Bela Lugosi version of Dracula, he had this medallion, and it was in the shape of a Jewish star. Don't think there wasn't a little subtle going on with that one. And of course, he was afraid of the sign of the cross. Again, Now, if you want to joke and take this stuff into a laughing matter, which it should be mocked. You could look at some of the Leslie Nielsen movies that were made in the 1990s. One of the ones, I think it was called Dead and Loving It, where he actually played Count Dracula. It's a very, very funny
I remember that.
of it with Mel Brooks. So you can imagine where that went. And then I think it was 95. He came out with Repossessed, which actually starred him and Linda Blair, who was the actual girl from The Exorcist. And they did a different take.
I remember that
of the exorcism. And we've always had a joke that if and when you ever have a demon who comes to possess you, whoa, what do we do with them? Well, we put them on the treadmill and we exorcise them. And you know something? If you don't pay the bill, guess what happens? You know, because you have to pay the exorcist, right? You can get repossessed. Whoa!
Oh,
really?
What a funny joke.
You gotta understand
Oh my God.
the reality from the falsehood.
Told you,
And as you know,
jokester.
our Jewish tradition is emphatically, and I emphasize that word emphatically, rationalistic. Maimonides, for example, didn't want to deal with the reality of any of these things. But our sages in the Gemara did. Other rabbis did as well. Don't turn to rationalist rabbis today and say, none of this is real. Because they're contradicting what everybody else in Judaism says. So yeah, especially those with us with experience with these things, we know and understand these things are real. Let's put the psychic vampires aside. Now let's talk about werewolves. All right? Now, I've seen some of the portrayals of the werewolf, and of course, Lon Chaney back in the 1940s. That was the best. I don't care what anybody says about these modern versions. All right? I used to date.
I think the best one that I've seen thus far, and I do like older movies, was Van Helsing. I think that werewolf was the best one of all of them. Just saying.
Somebody who had hair on her face like that. You got to laugh at this stuff. Please, this is Hollywood. But it's been ingrained in our consciousness. And it's like brainwashed us to believe that this stuff is real. Are there such things as werewolves? How about weredogs? How about were anything? And the answer is yes. These things also are real. But what are they? Somebody's asking, real or psychic? Real is psychic, and psychic is real. So, do you look up at the moon and you want to turn into a wolf? One of my favorite movies, if you're an oldie but goodie like me, was Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Oh.
All right. And it featured Bela Lugosi playing Dracula and Lon Chaney playing the werewolf. And it's a hilarious film if you're of the genre my age that you would enjoy such things. Well, There's a line in it that I always thought was very funny. Lon Chaney, of course, who played the original werewolf, turns to, Costello, and he goes, "Tonight's going to be a full moon. And when the moon comes out, I'm going to turn into a wolf." And Costello looks at him and says, "Yeah, you and all the other guys in New York and Brooklyn."
Yeah.
Wolf is the guy who goes chasing women. He goes, "No, I mean a real wolf." So anyway, let's shift here. Muzzikin do not shapeshift. That's not their, if you will, modus operandi. But others do. It is very possible in what we call astral projection.
Yeah.
That when you're in an astral form, that you can materialize as any kind of constructed form, Cepheusira stuff, for that time period. Somebody's asking a question about centaurs here. Go into the Hesed Avraham of Rabbi Avraham Azulai, section 2, chapter 4, and it'll tell you centaurs are real too. And no, they're not projected psychic entities. They're physical. They live in inner earth. All right? So,
inner earth.
Real shape-shifting is an astral projection. Many different cultures have known and understood projecting the astral body, in which it can take many different forms. And it will and can congeal in this physical form. Here, think of it again.
Hold on a second,
Here's our dimension.
Brenda.
Let's make believe you are.
Even when the story of Odin, and it said they could shapeshift. It said he would have to lay down and go into the astral in order to do that. So he's exactly saying how it talks about how what the word shapeshift meant. For them to do that, they had to be in the astral plane. And that story about where I told about Max going into the astral plane, Max Spears going into the astral plane and battling Michael Aquino. Michael Aquino became a scorpion, shapeshifted into a scorpion and stung him. So that was in the astral plane as well. That was the shapeshifting. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Are an entity in this dimension. And you just discovered there is a third dimension. You can actually go up here. Wow, how cool. And now that I'm up here, I can go back down in any form that I want. And that's how they work. So you can see that there are individuals who have this ability and do so with glee and joy. Not necessarily for the sake of harming others, but for the sake of experiencing nature. Now, I live here, as you know, in southern Tennessee. We used to live in Tellico Plains, our new property is right not too far from our old property. And I have one of our long supporting students from Coker Creek, which is a very, very old neighborhood, in southern Tennessee here, which since, I don't know, maybe the 1600s, has had a tradition of practicing witchcraft. Old mountain people. Well known, well documented. Everybody knows it. Everybody keeps their distance because these guys are real. They're not modern day weirdo Wiccans from, rejects from Woodstock kind of real people. The mountain women. All right. If you're from the Appalachia area, you know exactly what I'm talking about. These people know stuff. They astral project all the time. He was driving home from work one day, and he called me up. He says, "Rabbi, I saw something run across the road, and it wasn't anything like I've ever seen before." He says, "Could it have been a werewolf?" I said, "It's very possible. You know the neighborhood. Things like this can
the neighborhood
happen." Now, if you get bit by a vampire, you're not going to become a vampire. You don't put stakes in the heart. That's all Hollywood nonsense. If a werewolf scratches you, all right, you don't get lycanthrophobia. Lycanthrophobia really is a psychiatric condition. And we actually have a biblical example of this. You know what I'm talking about? King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon.
Yeah. Turned
Read the
into
book
a
of Daniel.
dog.
It said that he lost the mind of a man, and he would like go out and howl at the moon. He became a psychological or psychiatric werewolf.
Yeah.
No, he didn't grow hair on his face and fangs and looked up at the moon,
Right.
Lon Chaney style. Please, Hollywood. But he did lose his mind. The Watchers could do this. When the Watchers want to punish an evil human being, they just let nature take its course and let the entities come in and siphon off the energy. And they can literally block you off from your human mind, and you become depraved like an animal. And there are many examples of this in mental institutions around the world, pretty much throughout history. People literally going howling, and no psychiatric medications ever been able to help them. Something psychic to this. So these were entities. Back in Skinwalker Day, when I went out to Skinwalker Ranch, they believed that they saw a major wolf, and they shot it multiple times, and nothing happened. They thought it was a Wendigo, not a Winnebago, a Wendigo. When it was a Winnebago, it would be really big. Those are the big vans. But anyway, they thought it was a Wendigo. I think it's a Wendigo. And an entity, a projection, a psychic astral projection from a Native American. Well, it's not what it was out there, and that's a topic for another time. You go on to the show, Skinwalker Ranch, when I went out there, and we chatted what was out there. So that's another topic for another time. Werewolves are out there. They're not prowling the streets. They're not going to get you. So if you're out walking in the middle of the moonlight and you hear, oh, it's most likely a coyote, a dog, or a wolf. I don't think it's the werewolf coming to get you, especially in a Transylvanian accent. And he's not going to look like Lon Chaney or any of these other guys. But it very well could be some type of an astral entity who projects itself. Now, what about any kind of actual violence? Physical violence, hurting, killing people. In astral form, those who know what they're doing can materialize into a form, an animalistic form, which can then indeed inflict physical harm on human beings and, kill them.
Okay, hold it right there.
It can happen. And
okay, so that opens up a whole big thing, because he's talking about somebody with the power to astral project as an animal or a beast, but can materialize in the real world and become that. That's kind of a scary thing. But they had to go through the astral realm to get to that. You know what I mean? That's what he said. Kind of made me think about how they see the Bigfoots and then they just vanish into thin air because they're astral projected.
Right.
But they can become physical, so that's why they disappear when they want to. And I was thinking about that time for me when I was in my dream, and I go to see Obama in his basement, okay, in this dream, and I asked him if he was part of the Pegasus project, the time travel project. He goes, I don't remember it, but it's possible. And then we hear Michelle calling from upstairs because we were in the basement talking, and then he's like, oh no, because he didn't want to be caught in the basement talking to me if Michelle catches him, right? So he gets up to walk over to the stairs, and I run into the bathroom. I look in the mirror, and I'm this black girl with this black frizzy hair. I'm like, what the hell? So I guess I astral projected, and then I physically appeared in the dream as somebody else. I was a black girl with black frizzy hair. Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, I'm looking at myself in the mirror.
God.
I was like, okay.
All right, we got to get through this because I only wanted to limit this show to 2 hours.
Go ahead.
Tonight, so
all right, go ahead.
Here we go.
All right.
What can I say? The only thing that we really need to concern ourselves with is how we can protect ourselves from this. Somebody in text is asking about Yetis and Bigfoot. Well, they're probably inner earth entities. just like described in Hesed Lavraham. So no, they're not projected or anything else. And probably the Loch Ness monster is probably some kind of entity from reptilian entity from there. And good old, what was his name? Up in Lake Champlain. I forgot that they got one of them up there too. Champ? Is that what his name was, if I remember? Yeah, I'm sure all those things are real. So what? All right, so we found the dinosaur. Mazel tov. All right, big deal. Go into the Congo. Go into the Amazon. You find a lot of weird stuff. Go into inner Earth. Ooh. But anyway, let's continue in the time we have left to talk about ghosts, spirits, and of course, demons. First of all, let's take the demons and put them in a category. It is the Christian teaching that these are fallen angels whose job and role it is to hurt and harm mankind in a fight with God. This does not have its origins in Torah. This is not to be found in the Tanakh, the Jewish Bible. This has its foundation in Zoroastrianism, Mithraism, which then developed, grew and augmented in Greco-Roman traditions and was adopted into Christianity, and a good part of it later into Islam, where in which there's the duality. The entity who we call the Satan, he's God's man. He works for God. He does what God tells him to do. Job, chapter 1, read. Now, Shadim are a natural indigenous race of entities on this earth. There are good ones and there are bad ones. And our brothers and sisters in Islam understand this a lot better than we do in the Western world.
Like the jinn?
You can go into the Quran and read the surah on the jinn. And there are good jinn and there are bad jinn. And the Zohar speaks about this as well. You have jinn, demons, who actually believe in God, are God, they worship God, they fear God, they're moral within the context of their species. They're not fallen evil angels who are going to go to hell. That entire concept and construct is foreign to us. The whole concept of an eternal hell, an eternal heaven, and a concept of damnation or need for salvation is a foreign concept to Judaism. So when Christian missionaries come to us and say, you need to be saved, saved from what? Saved from disconnection from God. I'm not disconnected from God. Right? Who are you going to go to hell? I know all Jews go to hell. Christians have been telling us for thousands of years. We are all Jews, all Muslims, we're all going to hell. Yeah, we already know. Thank you very much. Okay? But that's not what it's taught. Not worried about that. No concern whatsoever. But with regards to the Shadim, many people don't really bother with Shadim, but are bothering with what we call ruchot, or spirits, nature spirits. These again are an indigenous race, very similar to Mazikin in one way, and the Shadim in another way. They exist in this higher dimensional plane, and they reside in locations, lakes and mountains, and they have their own places where they live. And guess what their food is? Like the Mazikin, it is life force energy. And human beings will often go to these entities and say, you know what, could you do me a favor? Can you imagine if your goat or your cow came to and asked you for a favor? What can I do for you? All right, could you put me in a better pen or something like that? Well, these entities look and say, all right, feed me. And that is where all kinds of human sacrifice came from. If you remember way back in the Bible, they would take the children and offer it to Molech, all right, in the valley of this guy named Hinnom, and his valley was called in Hebrew Gay Hinnom, and that's the word to this day which we use to describe the hellfires in the afterlife, which are an archetypal construct of the mind. You believe you're going to Gehinnom, you're going to end up there. All depends on your energy. So, the Ruchot are nature spirits. They're all over the place. Somebody's talking about what happened in Lake Baikal with the Russian seals. Those were indigenous entities of this earth. That was their home. They were doing that, and the Russian seals didn't belong there. And they paid the price, if you know the story. But we know that story. And we've developed technologies now that when many of these entities interact with us, we fight back. All right? A little secret most people don't know is that, the big, alien ship that crashed in Roswell? Well, no one's going to tell you this, but I'll tell you from sources that, of course, we shot it down. Just to let you know. That's beside the point.
Yeah, we did.
Anyway,
we
so
did.
yeah, these guys are real. Interdimensional. Nature spirits are out there. They're all over. You speak to them. I've actually encountered and interacted with them myself. So, you're crazy. Of course I'm crazy. I'm the craziest of all. I admit it. But I don't care. I know my own personal experiences, and I know what I've encountered. I know others also do. That's fine. All of this we're going to tie up with a nice little bow at the end. Now, the one thing we can talk about next is the dibuk. Ghosts. There is a residual psychic energy pattern of every human life that lasts after the death of the body. We call this the nefesh.
Chris said that his goat has used up all its favors.
What?
Chris said that his goat has used up all its favors.
Oh my God.
Hello, Chris.
My goat has used up all his favors. Oh.
Consciousness. All right? This
Must
is not
be a
the
bad
neshama
goat.
which goes off and reincarnates. So, for example, when we read the story in the Bible, Book of Shmuel, of the witch of Endor, in which King Saul is going to go to war and he finds a witch who calls up Samuel. Samuel is busy in heaven. Do you think all of a sudden he got a call on his psychic cell phone, spiritual cell phone? There's a call from the witch of Endor. She wants you to go and speak to Saul. Oh, okay. And he's up in heaven with Moshe Rabbeinu and all the rest of the guys. I'll be right back. No. This is why psychics, like you read about the mediums, they can sense the presence of a residual nefesh energy. Mm-hmm. Which remember, like what do they call it? The Akashic record, just all like a computer, all the memories, impressions, and feelings and thoughts of every entity that's ever lived, every human's ever lived, and those who are sensitive can tap into this. I hear often about people who have had encounters. Recently, I was speaking to a very rationalist, down-to-earth medical professional who said that he had encounters somehow, somewhere, somebody met their grandfather, described all these things. Yeah, those things happen all the time. It's not weird, and it's not abnormal. In all due respect, if you look at the actual statistics, almost, majority of people on Earth have had experiences of this nature somehow or not. It's the majority. So that makes it not abnormal, but rather normal. It's the prejudice of our rationalist intellect, which tries to deny the existence of these other realities that's technically abnormal.
There you go.
When a human soul leaves the body, many a time it does not want to pass on into the light. Many times it's tapped into by these mazikin, and the mazikin force it to stay, and they still siphon off of it. The entities, the souls, are really in pain and suffering, and they are attached to certain types of lifestyles that they want to continue outside or after the body, we call it after death. So, many of you might remember a movie from the 90s, a beautiful movie, Patrick Swayze. What was it called? Ghost. Yeah. He gets killed, and he stays behind to save his girlfriend from a plot. And there's a story, he's traveling on a subway in New York City, and he meets another ghost. And the other ghost says, hey, you were dead. And the ghost says, oh, if only I could smoke a cigarette again. Oh, I love the cigarette. Well, that's the kind of way these dibukim work. And they will find a sympathetic energy signature in an individual and attach to the individual, kind of like a mazik, and compel the individual to smoke a cigarette, engage in promiscuity, engage in drug use or something, so they could feel it through the person. And they hide inside the person's psychic energy, because there is a civil service, if you will, divine spiritual civil service, whose job it is to corral souls and move them on. And they go running from them, kind of like the psychic police, if you will. Rabbi Yehuda Fatia in his Minchat Yehuda writes a lot about this. And our job, when we deal with real entities of this kind, isn't to go back to hell, kind of stuff like in the movie Possessed, exorcisms. It's not like that. We have to heal these souls. There's suffering and pain in the afterlife, just like there were in this life. And that's why a real exorcism requires healing the soul of the possessed soul that's there. And it's a big, long job. So this is the reality of the higher dimensions in which we live and the entities that are there. Yeah, there are real vampires, and we open ourselves up to them. So if you're the moronic type that you want to hang around with Dracula capes and put on fangs and look like an idiot, you know what? The real mazikin probably have such a grasp on those idiots that they don't even know it. All right? I would think that the majority of guys who would do something as infantile and juvenile as that probably do that because they have no other luck with the girls. They have to have some kind of angle. Oh, yes, I'm a vampire. Oh, yeah, okay. Fat, ugly balls. But anyway, sorry. Werewolves, you don't mess with people who have psychic abilities. All right? You just keep your distance. But now, as I said, we're going to tie it all up with a little bow at the end. I'm going to share with you something. Way back when I wrote my first work on UFOs and aliens in light of Kabbalah and Torah, I wrote that in 1993 as part of our Panu Derech journals. Some of you have been with me for long enough, you might remember those. Well, I remember reading one of the UFO magazines at the time, How to Stop a Negative Alien Abduction. Well, what do? I always thought that aliens, I know what aliens look like. I've seen, Klingons in Star Trek. They come beaming in, they got their phaser guns, and, you got to fight them off. Well, according to this article, what is the successful way? So I see somebody in text already beat me to it. The successful way of stopping a negative alien encounter. And according to the article, the most successful tested way was the recitation of psalms, holy names, the presence and calling upon God. And I said, wait a second, how does that stop a Klingon phaser? Right? If the Navy SEALs came barging into here, and they got all their guns pointed at me, and I go to them, in the name of the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. All of a sudden, they, like the Wicked Witch of the West and the Wizard of Oz, they throw holy water on them. Ah, melting! Ah. Really? Gee whiz, don't tell that to any criminal element. If they think they can get away with stuff, throw water at the cops. No, obviously, that doesn't happen. Not in the physical world. But if prayer and holiness rejects and puts up a psychic wall against these entities, using the wise words of the Gemara, I'll teach you. Salka datach. Salka datach is Aramaic. It means you've revealed your position, like exposing your hand in a poker game, right? Salka datach. If you're afraid of and you're repelled by psalms or the mention of God's name and the holy names, we already know who you are then. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So if these little grays are coming through your wall at night, we're going to take you to our spaceship and do sexual experiments on you. Oh, yeah, cool. I'm going to meet one of those blonde Pleiadian hot babes. Yeah, okay? That's like one of these little gray mazikin putting thoughts into your head so that they can siphon your energy without you resisting too much. This is where you got to, literally, you quote Psalms, you quote the name of Hashem. We use the name Yud-Ke, Vav-Ke, the name that God revealed in the Torah. And this has power. And this is the power that can protect you from these Mazakin entities, these psychic vampires, or anything of that nature. So, whether we're dealing with real ghosts or real spirits and the like, this is why we refer to Kiddusha, holiness. Holiness is not a behavior. It's an energy signature. Righteousness is behavior. Holiness is an energy signature. It requires certain levels of sexual balance, keeping purity within the body, kosher laws and the like. It's an energy realignment. And those who achieve Kedusha are not projecting the energy signature that these other entities are attracted to. In such, they are repelled by them. So this is why we always refer to, and why the Torah teaches us, Kiddushim Tihiyu, be holy before God. And holiness, look, read Leviticus, read what Rashi says. Sexual balance and alignment, proper eating and dietary habits, why we don't eat blood or any of the other byproducts, which again challenge and compromise psychic energy. Now, for those of you who are not of the Jewish practice, you say, "Oh, I'm not Jewish, I don't care." Oh, you don't have to care about anything. But if you wish to align energetically in this, these practices need to be performed by you as well. And if you look at similar meditative practices around the world that seek this type of energetic alignment, they kind of all teach the same thing. No, not within the context of a religion, but within the context of energetic alignment, balance, harmony. There are real Mazikin entities out there. They look at us like cattle, and they're going to look for ones to feed on. And you are either going to be food in the food chain, or you're not. And therefore, your energy signature is what's going to define who and what you are. So yeah, all these things are real, not within the context of fake and phony Hollywood and nonsense and silliness, but within the sense of the psychic, energetic realities of our experience of beings. And I'm going to bet you every one of you listening in today, live, recording, or otherwise, I bet you each of us has had at least one experience in our lives where you know what I'm saying is true. Yep. You know it. You don't need me to convince you, because you know what your personal experiences have been. Now, I don't need to know them. Don't put them here in text or anything of the kind. But just know and understand that, does this go up? Yeah, it does. Oh, I missed all these things. This didn't scroll up. Oh my goodness, I got all these things in text that didn't scroll up, so I couldn't see them. So sorry. But anyway, so this is what we gotta address and understand. And if you can take this stuff seriously, I don't necessarily make this as a pitch for religion, but I do make this a pitch for you to recognize your own energetic signatures and to deal with it accordingly. And just to conclude, when you see these morons and idiots out there, this one claiming he's a wolf, a werewolf, or this one's a vampire, you know what? Just laugh at them. They're fools. Yeah. I have power. Yeah, so do I.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to try my power? You want to duke it out in the psychic realm? Oh, baby, I love a fight. All right? I'm crazy. I'm definitely crazy in that respect. I'll throw every Shem Kadosh at you and everything else. I'll tear you apart. I'll show you what a real psychic werewolf can be like. Oh,
jeez. All right.
Anyway, on a serious note, go watch some of the Leslie Nielsen movies about.
Okay, I think we're done with that.
Okay.
Now, there was one thing that I did disagree with him with, and that was the whole, if you know somebody that has psychic powers, stay away from them. I think
what maybe he meant vampiric powers.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, I don't know. I think I'm one of the safest people to be around to make sure that nothing like an entity.
Because he said we all have powers. Yeah, we all have powers. So
yeah, some just don't. Some just don't. It's not that they don't know that they have them. They just haven't gotten the ability to be able to communicate with that side of them. Like I said, I've been doing it since I was 5. I've been able to, see, hear, communicate. So
yeah,
it's something that just comes normal to me. But I'm also very much of an empath. Like, I do feel a lot of things. As a matter of fact, I was just telling Abe last night, I've been so drained lately, but I think that it's because there's been so much going on right now in our earth that I am trying to
figure it all out.
well, that um, plus I've been doing a lot of astral in my sleep lately, and when I do that, it wears me out. So
You know, it is true. You can get so tired because you're actually when you're astral traveling, your soul is out there doing all these things, and
yes,
depending on what you're doing, when you get back, you're astrally, your soul is wore out. It's not just the
yeah,
body, it's your whole being, because your soul and your body are, you know,
right.
equally working. Yeah.
And that whole thing with the astral and being able to shapeshift, there is one thing that we know because we've talked about this before, that when I
Yeah.
astral, I have both my legs. So
Yeah.
apparently that is the only thing that I'm missing is, you know, because I don't need to change into
I know.
anything else.
I
I can be
I can't
me.
believe I shapeshifted into a black girl with frizzy hair.
Well, might be a
I
long
gotta
lost
laugh.
ancestor.
Oh my god! I looked at myself and I'm like, oh, I got frizzy hair. Oh my god! It was hilarious. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, Rebecca, I was doing it before I knew what it was. I just thought it was like a normal dream, but until I figured out what it was. And then when I met Suzy and I started finishing her dreams without either one of us knowing,
We
and we
had a
were just,
situation, yeah, where
yeah,
where I needed Brenda's help and spiritually, and she ended up. I had a dream, and then Brenda turns around and has the second part to the dream, and it was pretty extensive. And then I had the third part to the dream. It was like so cool, huh, Brenda? That
yeah,
was just so cool.
you should have been on the phone with us that night.
Yeah, because it was intense. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
intense.
it was. But, I mean, and it's not the first time that I've done something like that for somebody. So it took me a little bit of time to understand that. When my grandmother was alive, and she was the only one that I could ever talk to about some of this stuff because my grandmother did this stuff too. She used to sit there and tell me that for some reason that I was extremely powerful, but I shut down a lot of things that I used to be able to do when she passed away. And a lot of it was for sake of my mom and my family because my mom was scared to death of me. When I would sit
But
there
see,
and
now
tell
you're
her,
free. Now you're free to
yeah.
make your own decisions. Yeah.
And I will tell you this, I remember one time I had to contact a psychic because no matter what I did, I couldn't shake this. But there was one point in time in my life when I knew my mother was around because I could feel her and I could smell her body spray.
See, my
Okay.
mom came like that. I could smell her. It was my mom, and she
And,
told me exactly how she died. Yeah.
but every time now, see, I can see and hear and speak to others, but I can't my mother. So, but what would happen is every time I had that feeling that she was there, I would feel remorse and pain, and I would cry for days.
You
And I
felt her pain?
figure out what, yes, and that's what it was, and I didn't realize that. I couldn't
Oh
figure out
wow.
why. I would just get into so much dread. Well, then I found out that I needed to step up to her. When I smelled her, I had to tell her, "You're allowed to come see me. You are allowed to be around. You're allowed to watch after me. But however, you cannot enter me." Because what she was doing was she was coming to me and
Oh
basically, because my
yeah,
my mom died when she was 47 years old, so she was young, and
yeah.
she missed out on my daughter's life, on a lot of things. And that's what it was. She was remorseful because she passed away so young, and she missed out on so much that it, you know, upsets her apparently in the afterlife. But I told her that, you know, it was okay that she wasn't there. I never stopped thinking about her, you know, and all this stuff. And believe it or not, now it never has happened again since then. And that was 3 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but I couldn't figure it out myself. I was like, why? Because I had never thought about her. I mean, I thought about maybe she's upset. That's why I'm upset. Maybe it's just that feeling. I didn't take it as if she was getting in me and crying.
Yeah.
And I'm serious. I would cry for days over nothing. I would just sit in the room and cry.
She wanted you to feel her pain.
Feel her pain. Yep.
Yeah, so that you knew that she was really suffering or really suffered. Yeah. It was real. Yeah.
And that's exactly
sad.
what it was. So I had to deal with her in a different way. Thank God that I knew that psychic, because, and it was so funny because I didn't even tell her what was going on or what was happening. I just said, look, I think I have a problem. And she snapped up, and all of a sudden she said to me, this is what's happening. And I was like, whoa, because I didn't even tell her.
Brenda, I astral travel a lot of times, and I'll enter into certain people, and I'll go into them, and I'll be in them.
Right.
And they're going to make a decision, and I'm going to sit there and try to get them not to do something that's going to harm them and teach them to not do it. Sometimes I can influence them, and sometimes I can't. But I mean, that's why I find myself a lot of times going into the person in the dream. I see what they see, I feel what they feel, and then I'm trying to help them, you know, navigate through this situation.
Right.
And that's why I see that. I've had that forever, and I used to wonder, why am I in this person? Why am I, you know, like I couldn't figure out what's going on, but then I'm like, oh, I'm here to help guide them.
And I didn't realize that that's what was happening.
Yeah, you don't at first.
I had to go to somebody, and you know, it's really bad because
it's not like we're born with a handbook, Brenda, to say this is what's going to happen.
This is true. You kind of learn as you go.
You kind of learn, as you go.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, it's just really amazing that things from the other side can do what they do.
Yeah, how we're in touch with
think,
that.
well, they didn't have a handbook either, did they?
That's the truth. They don't either, right? Yeah. Like he said, you know, a lot of them are stuck and they don't want to go. They're like this, you know, they're like, I don't want to go, or wherever they're supposed to be going, you know, so they don't know, you know.
Right.
So.
Yep. But anyways, all right, guys. Well, it is time for us to scoot out of here. I will be back on Tuesday with Chad. We are going to, I think we're going to go float into the ancient architect buildings, like the ones before the mud flood and different stuff like that. We're going to start getting more into the buildings themselves and how they were built. And they were built for like the giants and stuff like that. So yeah. Yep.
That's crazy.
Works. Yeah. Well, just so that you know, I was always a teeny tiny person, but when I had a stroke, my thyroid went out, and that's where that happened. So, you know, have a good day. Anyways, so, all right, we are going to get out of here. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to see all the rest of you over on Abe's show or not tonight. I don't know. I may be trying to get a little bit of sleep because I have been lacking thereof for a while. So, but we are going to get out of here. And like always, y'all, please be kind to one another, and you have a good night. God bless.
Good night, everybody.